Here's a world-class one-page cheat sheet for Directive Principles of State Policy, DPSPs plus Fundamental Rights. Crisp, bullet-wise, easy to revise, with all and tips. Hack cheat sheet. Directive Principles of State Policy and Fundamental Rights. 1. Direct Principles of State Policy, DPSPs, part of Constitution. Part 4, Articles 36 to 51. Purpose: guide the government to create welfare, equality, and justice in society. Origin: inspired from Spain, Ireland, 1937, India. Described by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Novel features of the Indian Constitution. Granville Austin, conscience of the Constitution. Nature: non-justiciable, cannot enforce in court, moral and guiding principles for government. Main types: 1. Economic: reduce poverty, fair wages, no exploitation. 2. Social: protect women, children, weaker sections. 3. Political: strengthen democracy, local self-governments. 4. International: peace, world cooperation. Key objective: ensure social justice, economic equality, welfare for all. Kid-friendly tip example: DPSP equals roots of a tree. Fundamental rights equals branches and fruits. Together, Fundamental Rights FRs, part of Constitution. Part 3, Articles 12 to 35. Purpose: protect basic human freedoms and equality. Nature: justiciable, can enforce in court. Universal, for all citizens. Main rights: 1. Right to equality. Articles 14-18, no discrimination. 2. Right to freedom. Articles 19 to 22. Speech, assembly, movement. 3. Right against exploitation. Articles 23 to 24. No forced labor, child labor. 4. Right to freedom of religion. Articles 25 to 28. Practice, preach, or propagate. 5. Cultural and educational rights. Articles 29 to 30. Protect minority culture, education. 6. Right to constitutional remedies. Article 32. Go to Supreme Court, High Court. Kid-friendly tip example: FRs equals fruits of a tree. DPSP equals roots. Without roots, fruits cannot grow. Without fruits, tree is useless. 3. Key highlights, tricks to remember. DPSPs plus FRs equals soul and conscience of Constitution. DPSPs are guiding rules. FRs are enforceable rights. DPSPs welfare plus equality, justice. FRs equals freedom, protections, equality. Idea came from Europe, Spain, Ireland, India. DPSPs help make laws. Government should aim to fulfill them. FRs protect people directly. Courts enforce them. Memory trick: roots guide, fruits protect. DPSPs equals roots, FRs equals fruits. Articles: DPSPs 36 to 51, FRs 12 to 35. Think: DR, directive rules. Guide government FR, freedom rights, protect citizens. 4. Quick example to visualize. School analogy: DPSPs equals school rules to help every student succeed. FRs, student rights like freedom to speak, equality in class, access to books. Together, fair, just, and strong school. Exam-friendly keywords. Part 4, DPSPs, Articles 36 to 51. Part 3, F Articles 12 to 35. Non-justiciable, DPSPs, justiciable, FRs. Conscience of Constitution. Austin, novel features, Ambedkar. Types of DPSPs: economic, social, political, international. If you want, I can also make a super tiny visual mind map version of this cheat sheet with colors, boxes, and arrows, so you can remember it in 30 seconds before the exam. Do you want me to make that next? Perfect. Let's now make the world's best crisp cheat sheet on features of Directive Principles of State Policy, DPSPs. I'll keep it short, bullet style, keywords only, exam ready, nothing important missing, plus smart memory tricks. Cheat sheet: features of Directive Principles, DPSP. Basics, Part 4, Articles 36 to 51. Idea from Irish Constitution, 1937. Spanish Constitution, Indian link, Instrument of Instructions, Govt of India Act, 1935, described by Ambedkar, like Instrument of Instructions, but for legislature and executive. Granville Austin, FRs plus DPSPs, conscience of the Constitution. Nature, non-justiciable, not enforceable in courts, but fundamental in governance, Art 37. Feature 1, meaning of the term. DPSPs equals ideals, goals. State must keep in mind while making laws, policies. Function equals instructions, recommendations to government, not punishments if ignored. Feature 2, who is state, Art 36. Same meaning as in Part 3 FRs Art 12, legislature, parliament, state legislatures, executive, president, PM, CM, ministers, govts, local authorities, panchayats, municipalities, other public authorities, govte bodies, boards, corporations. Feature 3, resemblance to 1935 Act, Government of India Act 1935 had instrument of instructions for governors. DPSPs resemble it. Both are guiding directions. Difference, 1935 for British governors, DPSPs for Indian legislature and executive. Feature 4, key objectives, promote social and economic justice, create welfare state, not just police state, ensure equitable distribution of resources, raise living standard, health, education, protect weaker sections, SC/ST, women, children, build peaceful international relations. Feature 5, implementation, non-justiciable, cannot sue Govt for not following, but binding duty, Govt must apply them while making laws. Courts use DPSPs to interpret fundamental rights and laws. Many DPSPs later turned into real laws rights. Art 45, Right to Education, Art 21A plus RTE Act 2009. Art 40, Panchayati Raj, 73rd Amendment, 1992. Art 39A, Legal Aid, Legal Services Authorities Act. Art 48A, Environment Laws. Important articles in DPSPs. 36, Definition of State. 37, Non-Justiciable but Fundamental in Governance. 38, Social, Economic, Political Justice. 39, Distribution of Wealth, Protect Children, Women. 39A, Equal Justice and Free Legal Aid. 40, Village Panchayats. 41, Right to Work, Education, Public Assistance. 42, Just Work Conditions, Maternity Relief. 43, Living Wage, Decent Life for Workers. 43A, Worker Participation in Management. 44, Uniform Civil Code, UCC. 45, Early Childhood Care and Education. 46, Promote SCs, STs. 47, Nutrition, Public Health, Prohibition of Alcohol. 48A, Protect Environment, Forests, Wildlife. 49, Protect Monuments. 50, Separation of Judiciary and Executive. 51, International Peace and Security. Criticisms, not enforceable in courts, vague, unclear wording, like adequate means of livelihood, depend on Govt will and money, sometimes clash with FRs, e.g. right to property versus land reform laws. Memory tricks, FRs rights now, DPSPs, goals for future. FRs equals enforceable, justiciable. DPSPs equals non-enforceable, non-justiciable. Think roots, DPSPs, feed fruits, FRs. Exam hack, always mention in answers. Ambedkar's view, like instrument of instructions. Austin's view, conscience of constitution. Art. 37, non-justiciable but fundamental in governance. With this cheat sheet, you can revise in 2 minutes before exam and hit all keywords. Do you want me to also make a tiny last-minute 20-second mind map, like ultra-compressed keywords with arrows? For memory, just before walking. Got it. I'll now create the world's best one-page cheat sheet for the Passage Economic, Social, Political Program, plus non-justiciable, plus Article 37, plus Role of Courts. It'll be crisp, exam-ready, keyword-rich, and cover every single point, plus Cheat sheet, DPSPs, features and role. Nature and Program Part 4, Arts 3651, Directive Principles of State Policy, DPSPs, Comprehensive Program. Economic, fair wealth distribution, jobs, wages, land reforms. Social, health, education, women and child welfare, SC/ST uplift. Political, local self-govt, Art 40, separation of powers, Art 50. Aim, realize preamble ideals, justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. Welfare state, not police state, colonial era was police state. Goal, establish economic and social democracy, not just political democracy. Legal status, non-justiciable, not enforceable in courts. Art 37, DPSPs not legally binding, but fundamental in governance. Duty of the state to apply while making laws. Judicial use, though non-justiciable, DPSPs guide courts in checking validity of laws. SC rulings, if a law implements a DPSP, law may be considered reasonable restriction. Help save law from being struck down under. Art 14, equality before law. Art 19, freedom, speech, movement, etc. Important examples. Art 39A, Legal Aid, Legal Services Authorities Act, 1987. Art 40, Panchayati Raj, 73rd and 74th Amendments, 1992. Art 45, Early Education, Right to Education, 86th Amendment, 2002, RTE Act, 2009. Art 47, Nutrition and Health, Govt Programs, Midday Meal Scheme, Ayushman Bharat. Art 48A, Environment, Air Water Pollution Acts, Forest Conservation Act, Swachh Bharat Mission. Right to property, shifted from FR, Art 31, Constitutional Right, Art at 300A by 44th Amendment, 1978, to help land reforms, DPSP goal. Jobs and livelihood, 2005, reflects Art 4139, Right to work, livelihood. Exam keywords. Granville Austin. FR's DPSPs equals conscience of the Constitution. Ambedkar. DPSPs equals instrument of instructions for legislature and executive. Key values. Justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. Preamble. Welfare state vision versus colonial police state. Non-justiciable but fundamental. Art 37. Memory tricks. FRs equals rights now. DPSPs is goals for future. Art 37. Try to apply me, not sue me. Think DPSPs equals roots, guiding ideals. FRs enforceable rights. A 5 marker. Right welfare state. Preamble ideals. Non-justiciable. Art 37. Fundamental in governance. Judicial use. Art 1419. Adwa Mjnrigia. Full marks. Would you like me to also create a tiny 20-second mind map version? Only arrows and keywords, ultra compressed, that you can look at once right before the exam. Cheat sheet, socialistic directive principles, 1-page crisp. Scope, part 4, socialistic DPSPs aim democratic welfare state, reduce inequality, protect workers, children, poor. Key legal position, DPSPs non-justiciable, Article 37, but fundamental in governance, guide policy and law. Hashed core articles in one-line meaning, memorize these. Art 38, promote people's welfare, social, economic, and political justice, minimize inequalities. Art 39, AF, 6 points, livelihood, equitable resource distribution, prevent concentration of wealth, equal pay, MF, protect health of workers and children, child development. Mem 39.6, Art 39A, equal justice and free legal aid to the poor, inserted by 42nd Amendment, 1976. Art 41, right to work, education and public assistance, unemployment, old age, sickness, disability. Art 42, just and humane working conditions, maternity relief. Art 43, living wage, decent standard of life, social and cultural opportunities for workers. Art 43A, worker participation in management, inserted by 42nd Amendment, 1976. Art 47, raise nutrition, standard of living and public health. Important laws, schemes showing DPSP action. Minimum Wages Act 1948, Living Wage Idea, Art 43. Equal Remuneration Act 1976, Equal Pay, Art 39D. Legal Services Authorities Act 1987, Free Legal Aid, Art 39A. MGNREGA 2005, Rural Job Guarantee Livelihood, Art 39A, Art 41. 86th Constitutional Amendment 2002 and RTE Act 2009. Education moved from DPSP, Fundamental Right, Art 21A, Art 41 FR. Midday Meal Program, launched 1995, expanded, mandated later, and NFA 2013. Nutrition, Art 47. Maternity Benefit Amendment Act 2017. Maternity Relief, Art 42. 44th Amendment, 1978, removed right to property as FR, aided land reform objectives, DPSP goal. Use one concrete scheme per article and answers. Our exam-ready answer structure, 5 to 10 markers, 3-step model. 1. Definition legal status. Mention Artamp 37, non-justiciable but fundamental. 2. List key articles, 38, 39, AF, 39A, 41, 42, 43, 43A, 47, one line each. 3. Support with 2 to 3 examples. RTE 86th Amendment, Legal Aid Act, Midday Meal NFSA. 4. Short analysis. DPSP's guide policy, often achieved by legislation amendment. Judicial interpretation helps uphold laws pursuing DPSP goals. 5. Conclusion. DPSPs form the welfare blueprint essential for social and economic democracy. Quick memory aids and mnemonics. 47. Share wage. Share equals wage equals workers' welfare. Links social economic focus. 39.6 equals, remember 6 subpoints of livelihood, distribution, prevent concentration, equal pay, protect workers, children. Top of 37 tagline, try, don't sue. DPSPs must be tried by state, not enforceable by courts. Tash, one-line summary, perfect finishing line. Socialistic DPSPs, Artstoke 38 to 47, give India's welfare blueprint. Share wealth, protect workers and children, ensure livelihood, health and education, non-justiciable but powerful drivers of laws schemes, MGNREGA, Legal Aid, NFSA. Want an ultra-tiny 20-second flashcard version? Just article numbers, keyword 1 example for last-minute revision? I'll make it next. Perfect. Let's make a world's best 1-page crisp cheat sheet of Gandhian principles, directive principles, short, sharp, with bullets, keywords, article numbers, and memory tricks. No extra fluff, only exam-ready points. Gandhian principles cheat sheet. Context. Part of Directive Principles of State Policy, Part 4, Articles 36 to 51. Inspired by Gandhi's ideas of simple living, village-based development, equality, nonviolence. Not enforceable by courts. Art 37, only a guide for just policy. Key articles and principles. Art 40, Panchayats. Organized panchayats, units of self-government. Basis of 70th Amendment, 1992, Panchayati Raj system. Art 43, cottage industries. Promote cottage small industries in rural areas. Example, khadi, handicrafts, pottery. Art 43B, cooperative societies. Encourage voluntary, autonomous, democratic, professionally managed cooperatives. Example, Amul, IFF Go. Art 46, SCs, STs, weaker sections. Promote education and economy of SCs, STs, weaker groups. Protect from social injustice and exploitation, linked with reservation policies, scholarships. Art 47, prohibition of intoxicants. Ban harmful alcohol, drugs injurious to health. Example, prohibition in Gujarat. Art 48, protect cattle. Ban slaughter of cows, calves, milch, and draught cattle. Improve breeds, animal husbandry programs. Extra facts to add. Gandhian principles reflect Gandhi's constructive program, village republics, khadi, prohibition, upliftment of weaker sections. Classification of Dpsps for exams, socialist, Gandhian, this group. Liberal intellectual, 73rd and 74th Amendments, 1992, gave constitutional status to panchayats and municipalities. Direct link to Art 40. Real-life examples. Panchayats running schools' water schemes. Amul cooperative success. Scholarships for SC/ST students. Gujarat prohibition law. Rashtriya Gokul mission, cattle breed improvement. Memory tricks. PCCIPC, order of Gandhian articles. Panchayats, 40. Cottage industries, 43. Cooperatives, 43B. Interests of SC/ST and weaker. Prohibition, 47. Cows, cattle, 48. Easy sentence. Proud children can inspire people constantly. Exam tips. Always quote article numbers. Shows precision. Link with 73rd Amendment, Panchayats, Amulps, Gujarat Prohibition, Art 47 for examples. Remember, directive principles equals non-justiciable but fundamental for governance. Gandhian Dpsps, village focus, welfare of poor, plus prohibition animal protection. That's the full crisp one-page Gandhian Dpsp revision sheet. All articles, keywords, examples, memory trick, and exam tips. Would you like me to also make a 1-minute revision story, like a funny tale linking all 6 points, so you can recall them super fast in exam hall? Perfect. I'll give you a world's best one-page cheat sheet on liberal intellectual directive principles, Articles 44 to 51. It will be crisp, bulleted, exam-ready, with keywords, dates, and memory tricks. No fluff, no long sentences, only what you need to revise fast. Hack cheat sheet, liberal intellectual principles, directive principles of policy. Background, Part 4, Art 36 to 51, equals directive principles of state policy, DPSPs. Not enforceable by courts, Art 37, but fundamental in governance. Aim equals build a just, fair, modern, welfare-oriented state. Category, liberal intellectual principles, Articles 44 to 51. Articles and key points. Art 44, Uniform Civil Code, UCC. Goal, one set of personal family laws, marriage, divorce, inheritance, for all citizens. Keyword, equality in family law. Status, not implemented nationwide. Uttarakhand passed UCC law in 2024, debate ongoing. Case law, Sarla Mughal, 1995, SC stressed need for UCC. Art 145, Early Childhood Care and Education, ECCE. Goal, cares education for children 6 years. Programs, ICDS Anganwadi Centers. Keyword, Healthy Childhood Foundation. Fact, recast by 86th Amendment, 2002. Focus shifted to preschool education. Art 48, Agriculture and Animal Husbandry. Goal, organize on modern scientific lines. Includes improve breeds, protect cows, use tech in farming. Keywords, modern farming, cattle protection. Programs, soil health cards, PM Kisan, National Livestock Mission. Art. 48A. Environment, added later. Added by 42nd Amendment, 1976. Goal. Protect and improve environment, forests, wildlife. Keywords. Sustainable development, ecology. Linked laws. Wildlife Protection Act, 1972. Environment Protection Act, 1986. Often cited in SC judgments on environment, XMC metacases. Art. 49. Protection of monuments. Goal. Safeguard monuments, objects of artistic or historic importance, declared nationally important. Keyword. Heritage preservation. Agency. Archaeological Survey of India, ASI, manages 3,600 plus monuments. Art. 50. Separation of judiciary and executive. Goal. Keep judiciary independent from executive and state services. Keyword. Judicial independence. Case law. NJAC case 2015. SC struck down law threatening judicial independence. Art. 51. Promotion of international peace. Goals. Promote peace and security. Maintain just and honorable relations. Respect international law and treaties. Encourage arbitration in disputes, not war. Keyword. Peaceful coexistence. Practice India and UN peacekeeping. Signed Paris Climate Agreement. Memory hack. UCFEHJW equals U. Uniform Civil Code, 44. C. Children's Care and Education, 45. F. Farming and Husbandry, 48. E. Environment, 48A. H. Heritage Monuments, 49. J. Judiciary Independence, 50. W. World Peace, 51. Think Uniform Care for Earth, Heritage, Judges, and World. Extra quick facts. Part 4 equals Dpsps, inspired by Irish Constitution, 1937. Liberal intellectual Dpsps equals modern, reform. Got it. Let's make the world's best one-page cheat sheet on new directive principles of state policy, DPSPs. This will be crisp, clear, exam-ready, and nothing important will be missed. New directive principles, cheat sheet. Added by 42nd Amendment Act, 1976, Article 39F, state must ensure healthy development of children. Article 39A, state must promote equal justice and give free legal aid to poor. Article 43A, state must ensure workers' participation in management of industries. Article 48A, state must protect and improve environment, safeguard forests and wildlife. Added 44th Amendment Act, 1978, Article 38, 2, state must minimize inequalities in income, status, facilities, and opportunities. Changed by 86th Amendment Act 2002, earlier Article 45, free and compulsory education up to 14 years, moved to fundamental right, Article 21A. Now Article 45, state must provide early childhood care and education up to 6 years of age. Added by 97th Amendment Act 2011, Article 43B, state must promote cooperative societies with voluntary formation, autonomous functioning, democratic control, professional management. Quick key memory hacks. 42nd Amendment, 1976. Children's development. Free legal aid. Workers in industries. Environment protection. 44th Amendment, 1978. Equality in everything. Income, status, facilities. 86th Amendment, 2002. Early childhood care, 0 to 6 years. 97th Amendment, 2011. Cooperative societies. Hack extra smart points for MCQ answer enrichment. 42nd Amendment equals mini constitution. Added 4 DPSPs. 44th Amendment equals done after emergency. Restored equality focus. 86th Amendment equals linked DPSPs with fundamental right to education. 21A. 97th Amendment equals recognized importance of cooperatives in rural economy. Directive principles are non-justiciable, not enforceable in courts. AIM equals create welfare state social justice. Exam tips and tricks. Remember year plus amendment plus article. Most asked in prelims. 42nd equals 4 principles. Child, legal aid, workers, environment. 44th, 1 principle. Reduce inequality. 86th equals education shift. 21A plus article 45 new meaning. 97th, cooperative societies. Article 43B. Link DPSPs to current issues. Environment laws. Article 48A. Free legal aid, NALSA 1987, RTE Act 2009, Article 21A and 45, Cooperative reforms, AML, dairy cooperatives. With this cheat sheet, you can revise in 2 minutes before exam and still recall all articles plus amendments plus keywords. Would you like me to also make mnemonic/story style tricks so you can remember all these articles without rote learning? Absolutely. Here's a world-class exam-ready one-page cheat sheet on directive principles of state policy, DPSP, and their sanction in super crisp bullets with examples and tips. I've included all important points without missing anything, using keywords for quick memory. Cheat sheet, sanction behind directive principles, DPSP. 1. Key people and their role. B.N. Rao, constitutional advisor. Suggested rights divided into 2 types. Justiciable, enforceable in court, fundamental rights, part 3. Non-justiciable, not enforceable in court, directive principles, part 4. Aladi Krishnaswamy IR observed Gov cannot ignore DPSP lightly. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar stressed popular vote ensures DPSP implementation. Constitutional position, part 3. Fundamental rights, justiciable, part 4. Directive principles, non-justiciable. Article 37, DPSP are fundamental in governance, duty of state to apply them in lawmaking. 3. Nature of directive principles, guidelines for government, improve welfare and socioeconomic justice. Cannot enforce in court, moral plus political obligation. Enforced by moral duty of government, public opinion and elections, ultimate sanction. Example, free education, directive principle. Cannot go to court but government expected to provide, people vote against Gov if ignored. 4. Why non-justiciable? 1. Financial constraints. India was poor after independence 1947. 2. Diversity and backwardness. India had multiple languages, cultures, poor infrastructure. 3. Government freedom to decide order, time, place, and mode of implementation. Practical approach. Constitution makers prioritized political public enforcement over court enforcement. 5. Key observations. Aladi Krishnaswamy IR, no ministry responsible to people can ignore Part 4 lightly. B.R. Ambedkar, ignoring DPSP, accountable to electorate during elections. 6. Examples for clarity. Type, example, enforcement. Fundamental right, freedom of speech, court. Directive principle, free education for children, moral plus political public pressure. 7. Quick tips and tricks for exams. Remember 3 main reasons for non-justiciable: money, financial constraints, diversity, social, economic, regional differences, freedom, order, time, place, mode of implementation. Key article 37, fundamental in governance, duty of state. Shortcut. DPSP equals guidelines, moral political enforcement, not courts. People enforce indirectly, voting, public pressure, media criticism. 8. Keywords for quick recall. B.N. Rao, advisor, rights, 2 types, justiciable, court enforceable. Part 3, fundamental rights, non-justiciable, not court enforceable. Part 4, directive principles, Article 37, fundamental in governance, sanction, moral plus political public opinion, pragmatic approach. Avoid legal burden on New India. One-line memory hook. DPSP guide government, no court bite. People enforce through vote and public might. If you want, I can also make a super visual memory map diagram showing fundamental rights versus directive principles, sanctions, enforcement, and examples. This works like magic for last-minute revision. Do you want me to make that next? Perfect. Here's the world's best, super crisp cheat sheet on criticism of directive principles of state policy, DPSP. I've included all keywords, expert opinions, examples, and tricks to help you revise in 1 to 2 minutes. Cheat sheet. Criticism of directive principles of state policy, DPS1. Definition. DPSPs equals guidelines in Indian Constitution. Tell the government what it should do for social and economic justice. Purpose. Reduce poverty, promote education, health, equality, and welfare. Key fact. Non-justiciable cannot be enforced in court. 2. Major criticisms. A. No legal force, non-justiciable, meaning cannot be enforced legally, only moral guidance. Experts. Katie Shaw. Pious superfluities, like a check payable only if bank has money. Nasiruddin, like New Year's resolutions broken on Jan 2nd. T. Krishnamachari. Dustbin of sentiments. K.C. Weir. Manifesto of aims and aspirations. Sir Ivor Jennings. Pious aspirations. Example, government promises free education, you cannot sue if not implemented. B. Illogically arranged, no consistent philosophy. Meaning, rules are messy, random, inconsistent. Details, minor issues mixed with major issues, e.g. clean streets plus free healthcare. Modern and scientific rules mixed with traditional old rules, e.g. health insurance, cow protection. Logical reason-based provisions mixed with sentiment prejudice. Experts, N. Rules neither properly classified nor logically arranged. Sir Ivor Jennings, no consistent guiding philosophy. Example, random mixing of vital economic and minor social issues confusing for implementation. 3. Key points, memory tricks. DPSP equals government's wish list. Good intentions. Cannot enforce legally. Mixed order, modern plus old, minor plus major. Moral guidance, not strict law. Non-justiciable equals cannot go to court, main weakness. Experts call them wish list, moral advice, dustbin of sentiments, pious aspirations. 4. Quick keywords, non-justiciable, cannot enforce, pious superfluities, good but useless, dustbin of sentiments, emotional, not practical, manifesto of aims and aspirations, goals, not laws, illogical arrangement, minor plus major, old plus modern mixed, inconsistent philosophy, no single guiding principle. 5. Example to remember, DPSPs like your parents. Rules, eat healthy, help others, be kind. Good rules, but no punishment if broken, just guidance. 6. Exam tips tricks. 1. Remember 2 main criticisms, no legal force and illogical arrangement. 2. Link experts with keywords for quick recall. Shah, check, resources. Nasiruddin, New Year resolution. Krishnamachari, dustbin of sentiments. Jennings, pious aspirations. 3. Use wish list. Trick, visualize DPSP as government wish list, helps remember easily. 4. Always mention examples and answers, makes it high scoring. Revision tip. 1 min, memorize 2 main criticisms keywords. 1 min, recall 3 to 4 expert opinions plus examples. You'll be able to answer any exam question perfectly. If you want, I can also make an even shorter, ultra-tiny version that fits in just 1 small page or 30-sec glance, ultimate memory hack for last-minute revision. Do you want me to do that? Got it. I'll now create the world's best 1-page cheat sheet of this topic. Jennings' conservative view plus Santhanam's constitutional. It will be super crisp, exam-ready notes, just bullets, keywords, dates, and tiny memory tricks. No extra long sentences, no missing points. DPSP criticism cheat sheet. Genesis. Basic DPSP directive principles of state policy. Part 4, Articles 36 to 51, Article 37, not enforceable by courts but fundamental in governance. Goal, social and economic justice, welfare state. Hack, conservative criticism, Sir Ivor Jennings. Jennings, British constitutional expert, DPSPs equals outdated ideas. Quote, ghosts of Sydney and Beatrice Webb stalk through the pages. Meaning, influence of Fabian socialism, gradual reforms, welfare planning. Phrase, Fabian socialism without the socialism. Looks socialistic, health, education, welfare, but no full socialism, no compulsory state ownership. Jennings' doubted suitability for 21st century may become outmoded. Memory trick, Jennings equals Webbs equals Fabian ghosts. Constitutional conflict, K. Santhanam. DPSPs may cause power clashes. 1. Center versus states. Center can issue directions to states, Art. 256, 355. If state ignores, possible dismissal under Art. 356, President's Rule. Case law, S.R. Bame, 1994, misuse of Art 356 restricted memory tip, center controls state if DPSP is ignored, Bame stops misuse. 2. President vs. Prime Minister. If PM passes bill violating DPSPs, President may return it once, Art 111, but if Parliament passes again, President must sign Art 74. President acts on Council of Ministers. Advice. Open conflict rare memory tip. Prez can delay, not deny. Hash with 3. Governor versus Chief Minister. Governor may refuse return bills, Art 200, or reserve for President, may clash with CM's will. SC Rulings, 2023-24. Governors cannot sit on bills forever, must act in reasonable time. Memory tip. Governor can return, not stall forever. Judicial balancing. Courts use DPSPs to interpret laws, expand rights. Kesavananda Bharati, 1973, balance between FR and DPSPs. Minerva Mills, 1980, FR and DPSPs equals two wheels of same chariot. Recent trend, DPSPs guide welfare policies, e.g. environment, education, health. Exam-ready keywords. Jennings, Fabian ghosts, outdated. Fabian socialism without socialism. Santhanam, conflicts, center state, Pres PM, Gov CM, articles. 37, 111, 200, 256, 355, 356, 74. Cases, Bame, 1994, Kesavananda, 1973, Minerva Mills, 1980. Shash tips and tricks, one-line mantra, DPSPs equals not enforceable but fundamental. Mnemonic for conflicts, CPG, center state, President PM, Governor CM. Mnemonic for articles, 37, not enforceable. 74, Pres advice, 111. Pres assent, 200, Gov assent, 256 to 355, center directions, 356 rule, judgments, KMB. Kesavananda, Minerva, Bame. With this, you can revise in 2 to 3 minutes before exams and still cover everything. Would you like me to also prepare a visual memory map diagram, like a flow of Jennings, DPSP ideas, Santhanam conflicts, articles and cases, so you can see it at one glance? Perfect. Let's build the world's best one-page cheat sheet for utility of directive principles, DPSP. It will be crisp bullets only. Keywords, dates, cases, examples. No long sentences, so you revise in 2 to 3 minutes. Includes tips and tricks. TAC DPSP utility, one-page cheat sheet. Basics, Part 4, Articles 36 to 51. Nature, non-justiciable, Art 37, but fundamental for governance. Goal, economic democracy plus social justice, welfare state. Phrase to remember, government's to-do list. Hat importance, utility. Guiding star, tells GovT what to do, laws, policies, welfare. Life-giving provisions, LM Singhvi, gives purpose to constitution. Heaven on earth, MC Chagla, if fully implemented. Economic democracy, B.R. Ambedkar, beyond just voting. Social revolution, Granville Austin. DPSP create conditions for big change. Moral precepts, educative, B.N. Rao, teaches GovT what's right. Judicial view, not enforceable in court, Art 137, but courts use DPSP to interpret rights and balance laws. Landmark cases, Kesavananda Bharati, 1973, basic structure, balance rights plus DPSP. Minerva Mills, 1980, harmony between rights and DPSP equals basic structure. Unni Krishnan, 1993, education linked to right to life, led to RTE 2009. Examples of DPSP in action, Art 45, Education, Right to Education Act 2009, Art 41, Right to Work, MGN Rega 2005, Art 39A, Free Legal Aid, Legal Services Authorities Act, Art 48A, Environment, Environmental Protection Acts, Forest Rulings, Art 47, Nutrition and Health, Midday Meal Scheme, Health Missions. Criticisms versus replies, not enforceable, true, but guides govt plus used in courts. Vague, flexibility equals adjust with time. Costly, progressive achievement step by step. Clash with rights, courts maintain balance. Timeline, super short. 1950, DPSP adopted, Part 4. 1973, Kesavananda, 1980. Minerva Mills, 1993. Unni Krishnan, 2005. MGNREGA, 2009. RTE Act. Exam tips and tricks, keywords to drop, economic democracy, social justice, welfare state, balance with fundamental rights, non-justiciable but fundamental. Easy mnemonic for DPSP utility thinkers. SCAR, Singhvi, life-giving, Chagla, heaven on earth, Ambedkar, economic democracy, Austin, social revolution, Rao, moral precepts. Always give one case plus place one scheme as example equals full marks. Golden line for answers. Though non-justiciable, DPSP are fundamental in governance, act as guiding principles for welfare laws, and together with fundamental rights form the soul of the Constitution. Do you want me to also make a super condensed 30-second version, just 5 to 6 bullets, that you can memorize right before walking into your exam hall? Perfect. Here's a world-class one-page cheat sheet for utility of directive principles of state policy, DPSP. Crisp, exam-friendly, bullet form, keywords only, with examples, dates, and tips. I included all important points and added a few extra facts for clarity. DPSP, utility and importance, one-page cheat sheet. Basics, Part 4, Articles 36 to 51. Nature, non-justiciable. Art 37, but fundamental for governance. Goal, economic democracy plus social justice plus welfare state. Phrase, government's moral guide instruction manual. Key thinkers and quotes. Sir B.N. Rao, DPSP's moral precepts for state, educative value. L.M. Singhvi, DPSP life-giving provisions of Constitution. M.C. Chagla, full implementation equals heaven on earth. B.R. Ambedkar, DPSP aim at economic democracy beyond political democracy. Granville Austin, DPSP equals conditions for social revolution. M.C. Setalvad, DPSP, Instruction Manual, Beacon to Courts, Background to State Action, Amplifies Preamble. Setalvad's 4 utility points, Easy Mnemonic IBBA. 1. Instrument of Instructions, Guide Recommendation to all authorities, reminds GovT of social and economic principles. 2. Beacon Lights to Courts, help judges in judicial review, check law's constitutionality. 3. Background to State Action, Guide for legislative and executive actions. 4. Amplify Preamble. DPSP explain preamble goals, justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. Examples of DPSP in action. DPSP article, action, law, scheme, result, example. Art 41, right to work, MG Nargay 2005, jobs for rural poor. Art 145, education, RTE Act 2009, free primary education. Art 39A, legal aid, Legal Services Authorities Act, free legal help for poor. Art 47, health and nutrition, midday meal scheme, health missions, better nutrition and health. Art 48A, environment, Environmental Protection Acts, pollution control and forest conservation. Judicial use of DPSP, guides courts in balancing fundamental rights and DPSP, major cases, Kesavananda Bharati, 1973, basic structure, rights DPSP harmony, Minerva Mills, 1980. DPSP part of Constitution's core, Uni Krishnan 1993, right to education derived from DPSP. Key facts, DPSP cannot be enforced directly in court, Art 37. They guide policy, legislation, and schemes. Courts use DPSP to interpret rights and laws. DPSP aim to achieve social justice, economic equality, welfare state. Essential for harmonious democracy, political, economic, social democracy. Timeline dates. 1950. DPSP adopted in Constitution, Part 4, 1973. Kesavananda Bharati case, 1980. Minerva Mills case, 1993. Uni Krishnan case, 2005. MGN Rega, right to work. 2009. Act, right to education. Tips and tricks for exam. Remember mnemonic IBA for Setalvad points. Always give one example plus one article, full marks. Phrase, non-justiciable but fundamental in answer. Tiny sentence to start answer. Open quote, though non-justiciable, DPSP are fundamental for governance, guide laws and policies, and make the preamble's promises practical. Close quote. Easy to remember chain. DPSP, gov policy, courts, laws, welfare schemes, citizens. Golden keywords to drop in every answer. Life-giving, moral precepts, educative, beacon lights, background to state action, amplify preamble, economic democracy, welfare state, non-justiciable but fundamental. If you want, I can also make a super condensed 30-second revision version, just 5 to 6 bullets you can memorize instantly before exams. Do you want me to make that too? Perfect. Here's the world's best, super crisp one-page cheat sheet for the roles of directive principles of state policy, DPSPs. I've made it exam-ready, concise, with keywords, bullets, examples, and tips covering everything important. Cheat sheet. Roles of directive principles of state policy, DPSPs. 1. Stability and continuity. DPSPs ensure steady domestic and foreign policies. Works in political, economic, and social spheres. Helps even if government changes. Example, education, health, minimum wages continue regardless of party. 2. Supplement fundamental rights. DPSPs add to Part 3 rights. Provide social and economic rights, jobs, food, education, health. Fill the vacuum left by fundamental rights. Example, right to education, fundamental right plus DPSP guidance. 3. Create favorable environment for fundamental rights. Proper implementation, citizens enjoy rights fully. Political democracy alone is insufficient, must have economic democracy. Example, voting is useless if citizens are hungry, poor. 4. Tool for opposition control. Opposition can influence the government, can criticize government if it ignores DP. Example, opposition says govt policies against social justice principles. 5. Test for government performance. Citizens can evaluate policy programs using DPSPs. DPSPs act as benchmarks to measure government work. Example, check if government ensures affordable housing, health services, employment. 6. Common political manifesto. Guide for all ruling parties regardless of ideology, left, right, center. DPSPs equals guide, philosopher, friend for legislative and executive actions. Example, no matter the party, they must aim for social justice, welfare, equality. Extra important keywords and quick facts. Part 3, fundamental rights. Part 4, directive principles of state policy. Economic democracy, fair access to jobs, resources, livelihood. Political democracy, voting and political rights. Role in governance, stability, rights supplement, citizen evaluation, opposition control. Exam tips and tricks. 1. Remember, 6 roles: stability, supplement, favorable, opposition, test, manifesto. Easy acronym. SS Vote M2. Always link DPSPs with fundamental rights and answers, shows depth. 3. Use examples like education, food, jobs, housing. Impress examiners. 4. Mention economic plus political democracy. Key concept in every answer. 5. Quick line for criticism or question. DPSPs guide the government, ensure social justice, and allow evaluation of policies. If you want, I can also make a tiny visual memory map/diagram of this cheat sheet so you can memorize it in 2 minutes. It will be super easy for last-minute revision. Do you want me to make that too? Absolutely. Here's a world-class, one-page cheat sheet for conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles. Crisp, fully complete, with keywords, dates, cases, and tips for quick exam revision. I've included everything important in a simple, memorable way. Conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles. Cheat sheet. Key concepts. Fundamental rights, FR. Enforceable in court. Protect individual freedom and equality. Articles 12 to 35. Directive principles, DPSP, guidelines for government, aim for social justice, welfare, equality, not enforceable in court. Articles 36 to 51. Article 37, DPSP morally binding but non-justiciable. Conflict. Cause. Sometimes implementing DPSP, social welfare laws, violates FR, individual rights. Conflict exists since 1950, Constitution commencement. Example, reservation for backward classes, DPSP is equality, FR, Article 16. Important cases and timeline, year, case amendment, key decision, action. 1951, Champakam Dorarajan, FR prevail over DPSP. Directive principles are subsidiary. Parliament can amend FR to implement DPSP. 1951, First Amendment, allowed reservations for weaker sections, DPSP, even if it limits equality. 1955, Fourth Amendment, allowed land reforms to help poor farmers, DPSP implemented. 1964, 17th Amendment, allowed laws favoring workers and poor without violating Constitution. 1967, Goloknath case, Parliament cannot amend fundamental rights. FR are sacrosanct. DPSP must work without violating FR. Key principles. 1. FR versus DPSP. FR, justiciable, individual-focused. DPSP, non-justiciable, society-focused. 2. Hierarchy. 1951 to 1967. Parliament can amend FR to implement DPSP. Post-1967. FR are untouchable. DPSP cannot override FR. 3. Implementation. Government must balance DPSP goals without violating FR. Important keywords. Justiciable. Enforceable in court. Non-justiciable. Cannot be enforced in court. Subsidiary. Secondary. Supporting. Sacrosanct. Untouchable. Holy. Amendment. Change or modify Constitution. Moral obligation. Duty to act. Not legally enforceable. Quick exam tips and tricks. Remember by story. FR equals fence around your house. DPSP equals garden instructions. You cannot break the fence to plant trees. Timeline trick. 1951, Champakam, FR win. First Amendment, FR can change. 1967, Goloknath, FR untouchable. Question strategy. If Q asks about FR versus DPSP, always mention 1951, FR prevail, and 1967, Goloknath, FR untouchable. Mention Parliament amendments, 1st, 4th, 17th, if it's about implementation of DPSP. Shortcut to remember, FR equals court plus individual. Dpsp equals government plus society. This cheat sheet is exam perfect, super concise, and contains all key facts, dates, cases, and examples in a single page format. If you want, I can make an even more visual, memory-friendly version with color-coded timeline, FR Dpsp comparison, cases, so you can recall everything in 30 seconds. Do you want me to do that? Absolutely. Here's a world-class one-page cheat sheet for conflict between fundamental rights FR and directive principles DPSP, covering all cases, amendments, and key points, concise, exam-ready, and easy to revise in 1 to 2 minutes. I've included all critical facts, dates, keywords, and tips. Conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles. Cheat sheet. Key concepts. Fundamental rights FR, enforceable in court, protect individual freedom, equality, property. Articles 12 to 35. Directive Principles of State Policy, DPSP, Guidelines for Government to Ensure Social Justice, Welfare, Equality, Articles 36 to 51. Non-justiciable. Article 37, DPSP morally binding, not enforceable in court. Analogy. FR equals fence around home, protects individual. DPSP equals garden rules, improves society. Timeline of conflict and key cases, year, case amendment, key point. 1967, Golaknath case, FR untouchable. Parliament cannot amend FR. 1971, 24th Amendment. Parliament can amend, reduce FR via constitutional amendment. 1971, 25th Amendment, Article 31C. Protect laws implementing DPSP. Article 39B and C from challenge under FR 14-1931. 1973, Kesavananda Bharati, Judicial Review equals basic structure. 31C second provision invalid. 31C first provision valid. 1976, 42nd Amendment. Expanded 31C, any DPSP law protected. DPSP temporarily supreme over FR, 14-1931. 1978, 44th Amendment. Right to property removed from FR. Now legal right, Article 300A. 1980, Minerva Mills expanded DPSP supremacy unconstitutional, balance restored, FR DPSP except 39B and C. Have Article 31's key points. 1. Provision 1. Laws implementing Article 39B and C cannot be void for violating FR 14-1931. Example, reservation for backward classes valid even if equality freedom limited. 2. Provision 2. Declared invalid by Kesavananda Bharati, judicial review cannot be removed. Important concepts and keywords. Justiciable, enforceable in court, FR. Non-justiciable, cannot be enforced, DSP. Supremacy, which law is stronger. Basic structure doctrine. Core features of Constitution cannot be destroyed. Sacrosanct, untouchable, abridge, reduce or limit. Judicial review. Courts check if law is valid. Hack shortcuts and tricks for exam. Timeline story trick. Golaknath, 24th, 25th Amendment. Kesavananda, 42nd Amendment. Minerva Mills, 44th Amendment. Fence versus garden analogy. Fence, FR, protects citizen. Garden, DPSP. Equals social welfare. Only special garden beds, 39B and C, can bend fence. Remember 31C protects laws implementing 39B and C. First provision valid, second invalid. Right to property, no longer FR, easier land reforms. Exam answer tip. Always mention FR versus DPSP, key cases, important amendments, and exception, 39B and C. Example question answers. Crisp version. 1. Q. Can Parliament amend fundamental rights after Golaknath? No. Golaknath, 1967. Yes, 24th Amendment, 1971, FR can be amended. 2. Which law protects social welfare laws from FR challenge? A. Article 31C, 25th Amendment, first provision valid, Kesavananda, 1973. 3. Can DPSP override FR completely? A. No, Minerva Mills, 1980. Only 39B and C can limit FR, 14-19. This is complete, concise, exam-ready, and contains all key points, cases, amendments, articles, examples, and tips. I can also make a super visual one-page timeline plus case flow chart cheat sheet with fence versus garden illustrations, arrows showing who won, so you can memorize everything in 30 seconds. Do you want me to make that version too? Absolutely. Here's the world's best one-page cheat sheet for the Minerva Mills case and the conflict between fundamental rights, FR, and directive principles, DPSP. It's crisp, exam-ready, with all key points, dates, keywords, examples, and tips. Conflict between fundamental rights and directive principles, Minerva Mills cheat sheet. Key concepts. Fundamental rights, FR, enforceable in court, protect freedom, equality, property. Articles 1235. Directive principles, DPSP, guide government to ensure social justice, welfare. Articles 3651. Article 37, DPSP are morally binding, not enforceable in court. Analogy, F articles fence around home, DPSP equals garden rules, both essential. Minerva Mills case, 1980. Problem, 42nd Amendment gave DPSP supremacy over FR, citizens' rights threatened. Supreme Court ruling. 1. Constitution built on balance between FR and DPSP, both are pillars of social justice. 2. FR and DPSP, two wheels of a chariot, must move together. One cannot dominate. 3. Absolute primacy of one disturbs harmony, violates basic structure. 4. DPSP goals must be achieved without destroying FR. 5. Present position, FR DPSP, but DPSP can still be implemented. 6. Parliament can amend FR for implementing DPSP without destroying basic structure. 7. Exception, Article 39, B and C, FR can be slightly limited for social justice. Example, reservation for backward classes allowed, freedom of speech cannot be removed. Key keywords. Justiciable, enforceable in court, FR. Non-justiciable, cannot be enforced, DPSP. Supremacy, which law is stronger? Basic structure doctrine, core features of Constitution cannot be destroyed. Sacrosanct, untouchable, FR. Abridge, reduce or limit. Judicial review, courts check if law is valid. Timeline, sequence of events. Year, event, amendment, case, key point. 1967, Goloknath, Parliament cannot amend FR, sacrosanct. 1971, 24th Amendment, Parliament can amend, reduce FR to implement DPSP. 1971, 25th Amendment, Article 31C, protect laws implementing DPSP. 39B and C from FR challenge. 1973, Kesavananda Bharati, Basic Structure Doctrine, Judicial Review untouchable. 31C, Second Provision invalid. 1976, 42nd Amendment, DPSP Supremacy Attempt unconstitutional. 1978, 44th Amendment, Right to Property removed from FR, now legal right only. 1980, Minerva Mills, Balance restored, FR, DPSP. DPSP implemented without destroying FR. Have simple analogy for easy recall. Concept, analogy. FR, fence around home, protects citizens. DPSP, garden, improves society. FR and DPS, two wheels of chariot, legs of table, both essential. Minerva Mills, fence stronger, garden can grow, but fence pillars cannot break. Article 39, B and C, special garden beds can slightly bend fence for social justice. TAC exam tips tricks. 1. Remember timeline story. Goloknath, 24th, 25th Amendment. Kesavananda, 42nd Amendment. Minerva Mills, 44th Amendment. 2. Fence versus garden analogy. Helps answer FR versus DPSP questions quickly. 3. Key points to write an answer. Balance equals part of basic structure. FR supremacy restored. DPSP can still be implemented. Article 39, B and C, exception. Short memory hook. Fence protects, garden grows, both wheels move. FR DPSP, but DPSP allowed. This one-page cheat sheet contains all critical facts, cases, amendments, articles, examples, analogies, and exam tricks for Minerva Mills and FR versus DPSP. If you want, I can also make a super visual one-page chart with timeline plus cases plus amendments, fence versus garden illustration, so you can memorize everything in 30 seconds before exams. Do you want me to make that?